again. Introducing Secrets from the Inside Radio Show. Raw, unscripted, uncensored, uncanceled. Secrets from the Inside starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. Got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back, cause baby, you're the one.
Well, doesn't it figure? Doesn't it figure? Okay. Welcome.
Sorry.
Welcome to Secrets from the Inside. 0024 Captain McCormick. You missed the continue mission military talk. You just missed it, right? Like sometimes you miss a party, right? I've forgotten to watch football games now and then. I am so thrilled to see you here, Captain. I'm so thrilled to see you here. The show's going to be yours here. I want to completely catch up on Scoop inside Washington, D.C. I know you were on the air with Val the other day. I'm going to turn it back, oh my God, for a second to Val Olson. Okay, our facilitator, Miss Val, our military radio gal. Please introduce the show. This is a little reprise of Continue Mission. But you go ahead, take a minute, just start, hard start, cold start, and you introduce our favorite buddy in the whole world, Cap McCormick. I'm so happy to see you on. Thrilled you could jump in. Go ahead, Val.
This is the best part right now, secrets from the inside. I mean, the currency here is secrets, and we're ready to hear what's happening in DC. We've already chatted about Friday's show and how busy you are in DC, but I just want to give you the floor right now, Captain James, and tell us what is going on in your world.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on is we're trying to build a robust coalition of veterans organizations and citizens across this country who are willing to come together and just simply do the right thing for our veterans. You know, the Vietnam Veterans of America, their motto is never again shall one generation of veterans abandon another. And that is a bonding statement that transcends any generation. So future generations, you know, past generations, we're building those multi-generational bridges. And in some cases, you know, you're building them over a very large, you know, body of water. And I'm going to be very nice when I say this because I am, you know, in a professional position here. But I will say this, that sometimes it's made difficult by organizations who have their own agenda and not the agenda of the American people and not the agenda of the American veteran and not the agenda of the families of these veterans. There's so many things that we need to get done. And one of the first things that we need to get done is we need to get the Elizabeth Dole Act on the floor. We need to get it passed and we need to get it moving forward. We think that there's so many great provisions in there that are going to make access to healthcare more available. It's going to, you know, create an opportunity for people to have a closer relationship with their VA medical providers. And that's important, you know what I mean? Because we really have to, you know, to look at the treatment options and look, sometimes you have to go outside the VA healthcare system in order to get the proper care. That's just the facts of life. No one is saying, you know, shut down the VA. I think the VA has a great medical program. We are all for expanding, enhancing, improving, and access to healthcare and to benefits for the veterans and their families is extremely important for us. So much so that we're taking this fight on the Hill. We're up on the Hill 3 days a week at minimum, minimum 3 days a week. And some weeks we're up there all 5 days. And sometimes we're up there on Saturdays. It depends, or Sundays, whenever they're going to have a hearing or whenever they're going to have a discussion or a floor vote, because it's important to understand that you have to have people that are up there that are not just bureaucrats. We don't have bureaucrats in this organization. We don't. We don't hire swamp rats. We don't do that. We're all about going out to the American people, the veterans, the citizenry in this country that really want to come here to fight, and to fight for the right reasons. So I think that some of the key things that we need to look at right now is the passage of the Elizabeth Dole Act, and we're hoping to get that on the floor next week. Vietnam Veterans of America has made that very clear in our support of that. We are also very clear in our support for Gold Star wives, Sons and Daughters in Touch, which is a Gold Star organization of children that lost their parents in combat. And we are about, maintaining the integrity of the Gold Star symbol. We do believe, however, that there should be separate categories for those that have lost loved ones in other ways. And we think that that's the best pathway forward to establish groups that, specifically address issues like suicide. We have a serious suicide crisis in America, and everybody's saying, well, we're all for ending and eliminating suicide, but you really need a group of the survivors of those service members, both those that served and those that were not serving when they died. And they need to be in their own collective groups so that they can move forward and to help each other. And then we all work together. The same thing for those that are killed in tragic accidents. Maybe it's not combat related. Look, the loss is the same. It's a very painful to lose someone. But there is a distinct difference in a Gold Star family. And that Gold Star family is someone that has lost someone in combat operations. So I think that, we need to really look at that. We really look at, how we identify that, but not so much, has nothing to do with pride or anything like that. It has everything to do with the simple fact that you have to put people collectively together so that they can work on answers. Why did your loved one commit suicide? Why did that helicopter crash and kill 14 people? And if you don't have people out there, if you're just all lumped into one area, then you totally lose that value of collaboration so that we can work on policies that make it safer for our troops to train. We can work on policies that make, the treatment of our veterans and the transition program better so that they're not committing suicide. Whereas if you put everybody together and say, well, they're all just Gold Star families, then that totally leaves everyone thinking, well, everybody lost their loved one in combat. And they totally lose sight of the purpose. And the purpose is to come up with a solution to prevent it in the future. Now, my dad died when he was 52 years old of cancer related to his service in Vietnam, but I am not a Gold Star son, and nor should, I be considered one, even though he picked it up in Vietnam and brought it home with him. But I do think that there needs to be a distinct group that recognizes that death and looks for ways to better treat service members in the future. Had they fixed this and had everyone been able to come together collectively, and you didn't have these individual operations of groups that have their separate agendas, then we probably could have come up with a very good solution, a legislative, codified solution to deal with toxic exposure and to deal with, and oh, by the way, we're going to do the research on the kids and the grandkids. Because if your child is born with spina bifida or your child is born with a cleft palate and it's the same group of people that have these children, then we probably need to do some research to determine what in that chemical, that defoliant, that inoculation, whatever it is they gave us, potentially could have caused that. So that guess what? We take it out and we don't do it in the future. The same thing with water purification systems on ships. And the United States Navy, they need to do a better look at that, because they still have people that are getting sick. They're drinking water that you're desalinating from the ocean, and it's filled with chemicals. Look, the oceans are polluted. I'm not sitting here going on a tangent for, environmental stuff here, but what I'm saying is that we got to do a better job of protecting our currently serving members, so that, these Vietnam veterans that I serve, even though I'm not a Vietnam veteran, I'm an Iraq and Desert Storm veteran. 2 wars, and both of them had bad shit that happened. You know what I mean? People got sick. You had burn pits. You had, shots that they gave us. Hell, they gave me a pill called a pyridagus, something kind of pill they gave me for anti-nerve gas. And to this day, I can't remember half of the damn war, the combat piece of Desert Storm. So, I'd like to figure that out. Why? Maybe I don't want to remember it, all of it. But for me to think that war was like a dream or a nightmare, and not have any real solid memories that are sticking, well, there's a problem there. And then maybe that's been passed on to my kids or my grandkids, and it's not fair for them. And it's not fair for me to just stand up there and thump my chest and say, well, it's all about me. It's all about my generation. And it's not. It's about past generations, current generations, and future generations. And that's what we are building here at VVA, is the bridge to bridge these generational gaps so that everybody has a seat at the table. And guess what? If somebody says, well, there's not enough room at the table, let me tell you, we stretch the table out, we add another chair. That's what we do. So that's who we are at VVA. I'm telling you, those Vietnam veterans have been fighters their whole life. And, I was raised by one that was he was just an ass-kicking paratrooper. You know what I mean? He fought in the Battle of Dak To Hill. He went back to Vietnam after spending almost 2 years in a hospital. Went back to Vietnam again. And I remember him coming home, and I remember that whole experience with the VA medical system that was broken at the time. 1978, I'm telling you, I was sitting in there 10 years old with my dad and watched a damn mouse run across the floor, and people laughing and throwing stuff at it. I mean, there was trash, people were smoking in there, everything else. Well, things needed to change, and because of that generation, they drastically improved overall health care for veterans. Right. They went in and said, no, this is not going to happen to my son. And that's the unselfishness of this organization that I love so much, because they're not a selfish group of people. And a lot of people could take some advice from these Vietnam veterans, because ain't nobody came home and got treated any worse than the Vietnam veterans. And you know what they did? They pulled up their boots. They washed their face. They combed their hairs. My good friend Dominic Yezu told me one time, his mom told him, says, Dominic, when he came home from Vietnam, he said, wash your face, comb your hair, and go to work. And that's what they've done. And I'm telling you, that's an example that needs to be set for future generations. So when these other organizations around here, they're beating a drum just for their financial gain or whatever. And I'm not saying they're all like that. They all do great things. Don't get me wrong. But they don't want to share a damn table with all the other groups. They want to be the head of the table, and they want to gobble everything up, and it ain't going to happen, and we're out here working. We're out here working for the American people, for that veteran that lives out in the middle of Montana, or out in the middle of West Virginia, or Kentucky, or Ohio, or Virginia, wherever they may be at, in some small town or some small community, or their neighbors don't even know what they did, how they served their country. Look, I came to New Haven, West Virginia in 2006 after getting out of the hospital, and continued to serve in the Army until I was medically retired in 2009. Not a damn soul around that area knew the warfare that I'd went through. They had no idea. They just thought I was some kind of a nut, that kept to himself. And because of that, there's a lot of misconceptions about veterans that we're all crazy. We've all got post-traumatic stress, and that's just not the case at all. We're not all that way. So anyways, that's what I'm doing up here on Capitol Hill, is I'm trying to be a voice for that person that's sitting somewhere right now and can't figure out why they can't get any benefits, they can't get any help, and why people look down upon them, whenever the citizenry should look up to that group of people, because 98% of people enjoy a freedom that 2% provide. And we need to do a better job at taking care of that too. If we can't take care of the 2%, then how in the heck we're going to take care of the 100%? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thanks for having me on the show. And
Captain, thank you for that. Your monologues are so educational. Thank you for that. I want to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
We've talked about many times in the last couple of years doing radio. We've talked about that the VA has come a long way, but it's got a long way to go.
Sure.
The Defense Department has come a long way, but it's got a long way to go. I want your comment. We spent a lot of the first hour, Val and I, talking about Team of Rivals, where we're actually truly crossing the aisle and bringing on our rivals. I do want to hear about you saying hello to Kamala Harris, but also I'd like to comment on Pete Hegseth, named Department of Defense. Seth read most of his stuff. He loves the VA and wants to see reform, but just your comment there.
Yeah, well, look, so I worked with Pete Hegseth years ago with an organization called Vets for Freedom. I was the West Virginia State commander for that organization. And so Pete Hegseth, and there were some others that were involved with that organization. One of them's a Medal of Honor recipient. It's going to be interesting to see, his take on the Department of Defense. Now, obviously, I think that some people are concerned. You know what I mean? They talk about experience and they talk about all of these things. But look, I've been in wars where I've had to take privates that have been in the Army for a year, maybe half a year, and say, you got to take charge of this squad now, and you got to go and accomplish that mission. And I don't want to hear no damned excuses. You get out there and you accomplish your mission, securing a convoy, clearing a route, taking objective, period. And I think that Pete possesses that same skill set to be able to do that. I think that, there's going to be people, I know that there's going to be people that are going to push back. But, obviously in my role that, I don't have a dog in that hunt. Right now I'm just looking at, here's what I will tell you. I don't care who gets put in there. They better take care of the veterans, or else I'm going to be knocking on your door. And I'm going to be telling people, I can't endorse anybody, but I can darn sure tell the truth about what they do, and more importantly, about what they don't do. And we have a mechanism for that, a communications piece for that. And the American people, don't piss down my neck and tell me it's raining. Okay. There's a saying that, okay. So yes, we've got better benefits, but you're still pissing down my neck because we still got a ways to go on some of this stuff. And yes, that's foul, and maybe that's a little crude how I'm saying that. But the reality is that person that's living in the middle of America right now, I'm not talking about Captain James McCormick, who, I had the ability, thank God I was a captain, okay? I went through a warrior transition unit where I had guys that have been in the Army, maybe 4 or 5 years, trying to order me around and tell me to get in form, do all this other stuff. And it's like, look, I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to talk to me that way. You talk to these other people that way. And that's a damn shame, because every one of those people that were leading us around had never spent one day in combat. And they're out there in leading a warrior transition unit. Of everybody there was a Purple Heart recipient. Some of us 2 and 3. some of us had rank, up to majors, lots of sergeants, lots of young private first class and E4s and corporals and sergeants who were getting medically retired out of the Army. So we've seen that, you know what I mean? We've seen that abuse of power. And so we're going to watch out for that, no matter who's leading, the charge. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent. I have my own personal beliefs, and most people know them. But what I care about is what you do, not what you say. You're either going to do it, and if you don't do it, then I'm going to let you know. That's simple.
Captain, quick question. Val said you met Kamala Harris.
I did.
Can you
I did. Yeah.
Just share that experience with our
Look,
listeners.
I'm going to tell you, I've met a lot of politicians, presidents, presidential candidates. I've met the current elected president-elect Donald Trump. Met him a few times. President Biden. Each one of those meetings. And some people say, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't shake that person's hand." Then you're a fool for not doing that. You need to talk to every one of them, because you can get something out of everyone, especially if you disagree on anything. So regardless of who you support or you don't support in the political sphere, you got to open up the pathway to communications, and you do that by not being bombastic or arrogant. And I never got that feeling out of anybody. I've heard people say bad things about every one of these folks, okay? And that to me is the shame. That is a shame, because it's like they're not all bad. There are some people that are all bad. Saddam Hussein was all bad, the people that ran Al-Qaeda, all bad. None of them were good. Okay. Hitler, all bad. You know what I mean? I don't know that there was a redeeming quality on any of those folks that I just mentioned, but that's not so here in the United States. The fact that they're willing to have a conversation, the fact that they remember who you are when they see you later in the hallway, that speaks volumes for their character, even though you may not agree with everything. You got to have that conversation. America has got to stop being so damn obstinate and shutting people out, because it's killing us as a nation. So we need to come together, have a conversation, burn down. If you burn anything to try to send a message, then your message sucks, because you have to make such a scene in order to get it out. If your message didn't suck so bad, then you'd be able to say it and articulate it in a way that people would say, "Oh, I get it." And, "Oh, no, I don't get it. I don't like what you're saying." So
what was your impression of Vice President Harris? Just that interaction.
Very cordial, very nice, professional, in the meeting. It was, I know people say, whoa. But let me tell y'all something about our current elect President Trump. When it was her birthday, he wished her a happy birthday. And people said, boo, boo, all this other stuff. And what did he do? He was a diplomatic leader, says, no, don't do that. Mm-hmm. No, you wish her a happy birthday. And he said, sincerely, I wish you a happy birthday. And that, to me, was a huge olive branch that was being handed over. And now we have to see the other side reciprocate. And I think we have, because there hasn't been look, the media's been jockeying this crap since November the 5th. Okay, whatever. We had all of this upheaval and turmoil during the last election. I hope we don't ever see that again. I really do. And you have to be willing to be an adult. You know what I mean? Be a mature, civilized. Being a patriot is more than just growing your hair long, spitting out, foul language. That's not about being a patriot. Being a patriot is about respecting that Constitution of the United States of America and understanding that all men are created equal and we are granted certain inalienable rights. Okay. And we have to respect that. And we have to be able to say, it's okay for you to have a difference of an opinion, and it's okay for you to have a difference of an opinion. We in the veteran circle, we have only this opinion. Take care of the veterans, take care of the families, respect our Constitution, and take care of our currently serving service members so that you don't create a bigger need in the future, because we've once again stepped on it and got a lot of people sick. And that's, I can't make it any more plain than that. I'm trying to drill this down in a way that people understand. Now I've got people out there that hate me for breathing. I'm just telling you, because you send a message out that they don't like. They don't like it because I can look at the person on the right and the person on the left, and I don't care if they're polar opposite on their political views. Right. I promise you this, that if I put them in the middle of a combat scenario where people are trying to kill you, they are going to work together. They'll figure it out. And that's what we need from Americans now. Because we're close to that, we're close to that point where people are, there's a vitriol out there and a hatred. It's unbelievable. And, look, I'm a soldier. That's it. And I follow legal orders. And I've told people that gave illegal, immoral, improper orders that I will not follow that order. I have done that in my 22-year career. I'm not going to do that, because it's wrong. And it goes against the principles of being an honorable citizen and an honorable soldier. And that's the key word, honorable. And some people need to get that back in their life, is that honorable piece. They can hate me all they want and not like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. Where in the Constitution does it say that the First Amendment is only for, a certain group of people? It doesn't. So we have to deal with it. The Second Amendment, the Third Amendment. Shall we go on? All the way up. Let's go to the 10th Amendment that says anything that's not in here, look, it belongs to the states, right? The states have a right to manage themselves and to create certain things. It's worked for almost 250 years. That's right. And I pray to God it'll work for the next 250 years. And that we can come together and make it work. I mean, it's very simple. Everybody has a place. And I love all people. I do. I don't care what they're, I don't care about anything that they stand for, other than they stand for being an American and being loyal to this country. That's the biggest thing for me. I will, John Wayne had this thing that he said in The Shootist. He said, I'll not be manhandled. I'll not be touched. You know what I mean? I don't do it to other people. And so I won't have that done to me. And while, it was a movie, there were a lot of things that John Wayne gave in his last movie, The Shootist, okay, that are pretty profound and resonate today. That we have got to take a stand for the right things. And there's always going to be somebody that's going to, come into the room, drink all the punch, flirt with all the ladies or the men there, piss on the fire, and then they're going to leave, because that's just what they do. And we as American citizens, and more importantly, a unified nation, need to look at those people and say, that's not how we conduct ourselves. That's not how we do business. We're going to sit down, we're going to have a civil conversation. And, when somebody comes up and starts screaming and yelling, they've lost me. I don't have any desire to have anything to do with them. They don't respect the U.S. Constitution. They don't respect themselves, most importantly. And they most certainly don't speak for anyone but themselves when they're out there carrying on and, burning the flag and doing all this other stuff. Yeah, sure, it's their constitutional right to do it, but it's also a stupid thing to do. What does it accomplish? Other than make you feel good because you're not so angry because you took something out on an inanimate object, or you burnt down somebody's business, or you busted out the windows in the U.S. Capitol, or you hit somebody with a pole. Because why? What did that do? That did nothing. That did nothing to establish anything righteous. And we need to get back to, we need more adults in the room. We just do. And I'm just, and we have some up here, believe it or not, we do. We have some great politicians up here and staffers. And we have wonderful veterans, that served in the Vietnam War and other wars. And guess what? They're gonna keep fighting till the day they die. And with the way some of these World War II veterans are living to be 109, 110 years old, fully expect these Vietnam veterans to be around just as long. Because they got a purpose, and they see, that purpose. And then not only that, they have their sons, their daughters, their grandsons, granddaughters, and we just keep getting born all the time. You're in the McCormick family. Understand, I got 11 grandkids that's coming after us. 8 kids.
I have a quick question for you, James. I just want to, I'm seeing the Vietnam vets and the role that they have now. Their mission never ends. And do you think we're going to see them move into more of a diplomacy role, perhaps? Because I think that's where they're really needed. We need them to show us, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. I would love to see no more Republican, no more Democrat, but have, as Greg says, the American Party. Because one thing that I've noted of our soldiers is that they are less about getting hung up when somebody publicly says something nasty or does something they don't agree with. There seems to be something perhaps in your training that prepared you that you are to represent all Americans and represent the Constitution. And it seems to be missing in our public because we tend to get, in fist fights, and we get angry, and we get hostile towards each other. So is there something there that we can learn from our vets that's really important right now?
Well, it all starts with education. There is a lack of education among citizens in the art of civics, the U.S. Constitution itself. I was looking for a card that I had here, but I don't have it. But there's a lack of education. And so, yes, the answer to that is yes. The Vietnam veterans of America are the adults in the room that are really trying very hard to bring people together. And it's not taking people to the woodshed. You know what I mean? That's going to accomplish nothing. That's why you don't see us yelling and screaming and cussing and carrying. Now, there was a time when they had to, they have to fight and make their voice be heard, but it's always been respectful. And that's the difference in what I call a well-educated, well-articulated citizen. Now, one that's not well-educated and not well-articulated, that person will generally show up, probably isn't, properly, personal hygiene has probably escaped them. You know what I mean? The ability to have a conversation at a level, at a voice level that is not this high or this low. That escapes them. They usually come out screaming, yelling, lying. Lies are just so powerful now. And people, because of that lack of education, they won't take the time to go and research a lie. They'll just say, oh, it's on Facebook, must be the truth. Or it's on X, it must be the truth. Oh, it's on Rumble, it's on this, or it's on that. Don't take what I say to be the truth, folks. Just go look around. If you think I'm wrong, you go on out there and you have a conversation with a screaming idiot and see how long that goes on. So you never get anything accomplished when you're dealing with people that have, like I said, the people that show up to the party, drink all the punch, flirt with all the girls and the guys, piss on the fire, and they leave, okay? Or they walk in an elevator and fart and get off on the next floor. That's the kind of people that we're talking about here, okay? And they have no place in leadership. They have no place in a civil society. They have no place really at all, other than a place to show us exactly what we don't want to be. Is we don't want to be that way. So all these kids and stuff that are watching, they watch and they say, oh man, that's funny. They watch TikTok and all these crazy things, where people do the stupidest things. And I say, if you're going to use TikTok for a righteous reason, like showing people how to have a civil debate. We used to have debate teams all over America. High schools had debate teams. Well, they can't do it no more because nobody can have a civil debate. And we don't have teachers out there that are qualified to teach it. And if they do, then they've been fired or they've been ostracized or they've got tired of the current, system and how it works. And they've just said, I'm just going to retire and leave. I've known many of great teachers that just couldn't take it anymore. So the first chance that they got, they retired and they left. So we are really trying hard to be that voice of reason, that one group that you can still come to that will listen to you and not try to force our beliefs on you. So I'm really proud of that fact. And the Military Order of the Purple Heart, that's another group. Here's the crazy thing about what you see going on Capitol Hill. The Military Order of the Purple Heart is one of those organizations that our motto really has been, to one day have a country that has no more need to have a Military Order of the Purple Heart because nobody else is getting wounded and killed. And so people look at that and say, well, you're trying to, you're trying to shut your own doors. And it's like, we hope to be able to shut our own doors one day, because that means your sons and daughters and your grandsons and granddaughters aren't getting horrifically wounded and killed. But there are other groups that are not that way, that advocate for a whole different thing, that are profiteering off of death and suffering. And I think that, and no, it's not the military industrial complex. It's other groups that are out here supposedly existing to help, veterans and their families. And we got to get away from the point to where we stop. When we stop advocating for peaceful solutions, then we become a very disillusioned and chaotic society. We have to all look for peaceful solutions. So you won't hear me bad mouthing, political parties or anything like that, because that's just, there's no value in that. I will tell you when someone votes for veterans, and I'll tell you when they vote against veterans, or they say something that is counter to the message of unity. Because honestly, we got to get to a point to where we stop accepting that as normal, because it's not normal. We have to come together. So now's the time to come together. And look, whoever gets appointed to secretary here, this person there, whatever, you know what? Accept it. That's God's will. You know, that's where we're at. And the more you cry and wail about it, the worse it's going to be. You know, I mean, it's like there's some people that got elected that I wish that didn't get elected. But guess what? When they get into that position, they will have my respect. You know, obviously, you know, that goes from the dog catcher up. Okay. You know, I'm me personally, I'm kind of happy, you know, to see things moving in the direction that they're moving. Some people are not happy about that. But regardless, show some respect and then have the ability to open up a conversation, you know, because if all you're doing is screaming and yelling, then it's like this right here. Let's take this cup, for instance. Okay. I can talk in this cup, right? It's like an echo chamber. I don't hear that. I don't hear my words say anything else other than what I want to hear. When you're talking in an echo chamber and just talking around people that live in, it's like talking in this cup. It does no good. So that's why you got to open up that conversation piece, and you got to allow those people that disagree with you to civilly be able to communicate that. Now, if they can't do it civilly, then shut them off, because you know, there's a passage in the Bible that says, dust off your sandals and move to more fertile ground. Don't cast your pearls before the swine. There are some people that will never get the message. Don't waste your time. Okay. Because if not, I mean, look at all this gray hair James has got. It continuously gets grayer and grayer. I don't know what's going on. Must be working on the hill here.
James, I was going to mention your hair looks a little bit gray, but looks pretty nicely combed and stuff today. Looks like you're ready to go to work, man. You've been working since, I'm sure, sunrise. Very quick.
About 5:30, yeah.
Two things. Number one, how's your time looking? We're real concerned about your time. You're such a busy guy. And secondly, I always love, no matter how much serious stuff has been chatted about, I love to hear either a personal anecdote or story and or a secret from our guest. You give us something personal, something hopefully that you've never said on the air before. And how is your time, sir? It's so nice to have you on, James. It really is.
Yeah, I've got a couple minutes. Let's see. Secrets. You know, I don't have that many secrets. I don't. You know, I mean, I have some. My wife and I have some secrets. You know what I mean? That we share together. But it's. You know, I'm not sure that I have anything that would represent a secret, but I do have potentially, let me think about this for just a second. Okay. Cause you know, I'm writing a book right now. Okay. And I've let a couple of these chapters slip out, you know, cause I want to hear what people say. You know, I want to get your opinion. Is this something that you will buy? And quite frankly, I think it is something that people will buy. You know,
Yes,
in writing that book, I have uncovered many memories. Okay. There have been things that I have buried in the past, you know, things that I haven't thought of much. And some of those things are quite shocking, you know, to some people. You know, when you know, war, there's no second place in war. Okay. That's what I will tell you. There's no second place. You either win or you lose. And there's no trophies for the losers. And I think, you know, anytime that I look at that experience in either Desert Storm or Iraqi Freedom, the one thing that resonates with me more than anything was the ability for people from all over this country to come together for one common goal. And that common goal was victory and survival. Victory and survival. And I don't know that that's that much of a secret or that much of a story, but I have hope that we can do that for America outside of warfare. And And I guess, I am an optimist. I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm very optimistic about the lamb being able to lay down with the lion. I'm very optimistic about that. I'm very optimistic about the ability of people to be more accepting and willing to just unconditionally love each other as Christ loved us. And so maybe that's not so much of a secret, but that's how James McCormick feels. And every time that I approach something every day, when I come into this office every day, I genuinely love the people I work with and love to tell them good morning and see their shiny, happy faces. Because for me, it's a lot easier to work in a place where there's happiness and not just bitterness that's resonating. And we have a lot of happiness and a lot of joy here. And we try to keep that going. So again, from warfare, I was taught that people can come together to survive and achieve victory. And my hope is that we can do the same thing with the American people as it relates to our ability to come together as a citizenry. I say to you all, if nobody's told you they loved you today, I do.
James, your message is so inspirational. Quick question for you. Quick question. You're clearly a great boss.
I don't know that I'm a great boss. I think I've been blessed with some wonderful people that God has put in my pathway.
Sure, but out there, just telling you, okay, they're good bosses and they're bad bosses. You're clearly, obviously, your experience as a captain and a leader of men has affected it. Leader of men has affected it. My question to you is real directly. Do you think that there's going to be an era of good bosses like you and like me? I mean, I know people from 40 years ago, right? They felt just like you. Do you think there's an era? Do you think there's going to be more pulling together a little bit of the old generation teaching? Do you think there's going to be an era, a movement forward there, or do you think we're going to simply get arm's length technology separate from each other forever? Question on that.
I think that it's very possible. I think that ultimately, you have to have the willingness to love people in your heart. You have to have the ability to detest human suffering. And I detest it. If anybody hates warfare, nobody hates warfare more than me. And that sounds strange coming from a guy who participated in it for 26 months. I mean, and but it's the worst. It's the worst of the worst. And I can't stand to see human suffering on any level. It hurts me. Now, some people have taken advantage of that compassion that you have. You got to learn to accept that. Again, it's like the people that come in, drink all the drink, flirt with everybody, pee on the fire and leave the party, okay? There's going to be people like that. But 98% of the people that you approach with a level of compassion will reciprocate that compassion, if not to you, to someone else in the future. And we call that paying it forward. And we need to live our lives paying it forward, our lives paying it forward. You have to do that. You have to be understanding. You cannot, you ever seen the one person that seems to always get picked on? And then everybody just piles onto that person, piles on. I'm not the guy that piles on. I'm the kind of guy that stands there, regardless of their position. I will not let you pile on. You'll have to pile on two of us. And I think we need to get to that position in America again. We can't stand bullies. Americans have hated bullies since the beginning. That's the reason why we had our freaking War of Independence. We couldn't stand the bullying from the British. We kicked them out because they were such big bullies. And believe me when I say we have bullies in America and narcissists, that take advantage of people's compassion. And we have to get to a point to where we stand up for each other. Because then what you'll find is is there won't be that ganging up mentality anymore. And that's what people do. It's the big Me Too movement. Me too, me too. I want to jump in on this, jump in on that, jump in on that. I know there's another Me Too movement going on, but I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the, let me be part of this. Yeah, let me get a kick in on this guy. Why? Did he do anything to you? No, but everybody else is kicking him. Let me kick him too. And that's the ignorance that just keeps breeding in this nation, and we need to get away from that. So leaders don't do shit like that. Real leaders don't do that. Real leaders step in and say, no, we're not going to have that. Real leaders step up and say, no, we're going to wish her happy birthday. That's what real leaders do. And they need to take an example from that one thing. If you can't take it from me or from the millions of veterans that have served down here and the thousands and thousands that gave their lives in defense of this nation, then at least take it from the most recent action by our current President-elect Donald Trump that says, no, don't boo that woman on her birthday. We're going to wish her a happy birthday. That's civility. Embrace that. And God will bless you for it. So there you go. That's
wow. Well, Captain McCormick, what do you really think? You've been on a tear today. Thank you for that great stuff.
I got to pop smoke, man. It's almost 1 o'clock. Gotta go.
I know. Val, quick summary here, just and let's say goodbye to James. I'll give it to you. Just wrap up and extra him, and you and I will stay on here after James leaves. Thank you. God bless you, Captain McCormick. We'll be in touch later this week, but thanks for your input. You were fabulous today.
Take care.
That is Captain James McCormick. Don't forget, you can listen to him each and every Friday night, Continued Mission Radio Show. This is where hundreds of thousands of vets gather, and you get an eagle-eye view right from Captain James' mouth of what's happening in DC. And today was a real treat on Secrets from the Inside. He took us right into the inner corners of the White House, talking about his interaction and engagement with Kamala Harris, Vice President. And did you feel that today, Greg? That sense of unity that's rising up, and also almost a manual of how we can be, and as we transition into this new age of power, and it's going to be different this time. Seeing President Trump elect wish Kamala Harris a happy birthday. Little thing that's a big thing, and there's a lot of people that he influences. So I loved that story. Wasn't that great?
Fantastic. And I tell you, it was almost like he was present for the first hour, because we were talking team of rivals and working together.
Yes.
Working on the 80% of stuff that we agree with, and move forward with a continued mission and a common mission. It was a fabulous visit by Captain James McCormick once again. If you would, let's do kind of a wrap and an extra here, Val. I will turn it back to you. I've got more that I can talk about for episodes coming down the road. There's so much to chat about, but what I'm hearing from James, from you, from everyone I'm running into, I'm hearing consumer confidence. I'm hearing an optimism. I'm hearing a willingness to work together. And there are going to be folks on both sides, the fringes, that will never work together. That's fine. But I think that they're going to go out of style. And I think working together is going to come in style. And James, I think, epitomized that. I feel the optimism. I feel it from you. You feel it from me. And in the end, it's called consumer confidence. And it can also be called faith and hope. It's allowed to be called that too, but it's consumer confidence. It's an optimism for what lies before us in 2025, with a humility, though, and an understanding that we're going to have our challenges. There's going to be choppy waters. But that's what I hear today. And if it's even minutely that way for 2025, that we do really start working together, it's amazing what we can do when we work together, just like a good hockey team. I will leave off today. If you would, Val, if you can do a full outro here as far as where we can find your work, where we can find James's radio show, And yes, indeed, where you can find my work and my book. So I'm going to leave it with you, and I'm going to leave it just here, which I always do with every radio show. And it really is reaching out to everybody out there. Do not be in despair. Do not be hopeless. Fear not, do right, and lean into your fear. But most importantly, wake up in kindergarten every day. There is so much to learn and so little time. Because before you know it, you're in first grade. God love you, Val Olson. God love you, audience from everywhere. And we'll see you next time. Go ahead and outro, Val. You've been great. You've been great.
So Greg's book is available right now on his website. Don't forget to stop by gregmeakin.com. While you are there, you can also, we didn't have time to touch on it today, but for those of you who want to do some homework, you can check out Greg's list. And there's 12 reasons why Donald Trump will kick butt. So if you want to do some homework, check out that article on gregmeakin.com. You'll find his book there, or on demand. You'll get it in your inbox really fast as well. Go to Amazon and you can find it there. My work is available right here on X Spaces. That, I've been on X Spaces. I was probably one of the first original X Spaces broadcasts before Tucker Carlson made it famous. So I've been around for a while. There's a repertoire there. ValOlsonNews.com. You can support my work there. Captain James McCormick, one of our favorite radio hosts and soldiers of all time, 3-time Purple Heart Award recipient. Captain James continue mission each and every Friday night on Blog Talk Radio. So this is Secrets from the Inside, episode 0024. Thanks for joining us. Share this broadcast, and we will be back soon.